Hey, what's going on, the Whiskey Cove, and a warm welcome back to the channel. And on today's episode, we blind some toasted bourbons. I want to get toasty. Run the video. Alrighty then, folks, let's just jump straight into this video, shall we? And on today's episode, like we already said, we're gonna blind some toasted bourbons or some toasted whiskey. So these are the whiskeys that we will be blinding, so let's go through them quickly here. This is gonna be the Michter's limited released toasted barrel finish, coming in at 45.7% alcohol. And then we also have the Elijah Craig toasted barrel, coming in at 47% alcohol by volume. And then we also have Woodford Reserve double oaked, coming in at 45.2%. And then lastly, and certainly not leastly, that is the Old Forest at 1910. This is coming in at 46.5% alcohol, 46, 45.2, 47, and then this was 45.7. So really close by. Let's get these into glasses. Let's get my wife to mix them up, and then let's get on with this blind. All right then, folks. So they've been mixed up, and I have no idea what is in which glass. So we'll go from your left to your right. Glass 1, 2, 3, and 4. And again, just to remind ourselves, we have Elijah Craig, Michter's toasted. We also have 1910, and then we have Woodford double oaked. So then let's get into glass number 1, and I'm looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to this blind for quite a while now. So glass number 1. So a typical note that I do get from a lot of toasted whiskey is I get like a really nice burnt marshmallow note. Think of like a breakfast cereal, like a breakfast cereal bar, the Kellogg's Rice Krispie. I get a lot of that sort of note from toasteds in general. And this one also has a lot of those like burnt caramel notes. No proof or no heat on the nose as well coming. They're all going to be quite viscous in the glass. The colors are all looking the same, so we're not really going to talk too much about that there. I'm getting like a little bit of vanilla ice cream as well. Maybe a touch of chocolate on this. This is a really good start. Maybe a little bit of an apple there actually as well. Like a bright green apple. Really, really nice nose. Let's get into a taste here. So on this first one, getting the beautiful, nice rounded sweetness up front. Again, coming more of like a candied sweetness. Getting a little bit of that barrel char to go with that there. I'm getting a little bit of heat from the palate. A little bit more than I was expecting actually. And then I'm also getting some really nice kind of cherry, like almost like a dark cherry dipped in like chocolate with a touch of kind of like coffee sprinkled on top, like instant coffee. Just getting that kind of note there. Really inviting flavor. I'm gonna go in for one more taste. I am getting a little, like a touch of, maybe like a touch of like cereal grains. Maybe I'm just fixating on Rice Krispie cereal bars too much. But it definitely has a small touch of grain there as well. Nothing too off-putting, but I can definitely taste it on this one. I'm not sure what all the ages are with these whiskeys, but I think they all fall around the 5-6 year mark. So that was glass 1, solid start so far. Let's move into glass number 2. Well, I didn't know what the difference or how much of a difference I would be able to pick up with these whiskeys. But this is very different to glass number 1. This is a lot sweeter, a lot more brown sugar, a lot more barrel characteristics, and just very sweet and delicate there as well. Again, maybe like a touch of coffee and like an espresso bean covered in chocolate. You know, you can get some of those candies. Kind of is like that again. But yeah, that brown sugar is just popping there, and so is the marshmallow. Let's go in for a taste. So far with this one, big punch of sweetness there. And I'm also getting some spice here as well. A little bit, a touch of rice spice is definitely coming through there. But what it does a good job of doing, it does a good job of cutting through that sweetness. And then the finish is nice and long with this as well. You do get some oak notes, and you do get some kind of, I want to say, maybe like a pecan note in there as well. So kind of if you think of more like, you can get those like cinnamon caramel dusted pecans. It's very reminiscent of that. Let's go in for one more taste here. Again, Like I was saying previously, with this one, a lot of sweetness, nice little bit of spice there as well. You get the really nice finish and really nice wood. Very well balanced on this second glass. Let's move into glass number 3 here. This almost looks a touch darker than the others. Getting definitely some maple syrup here, straight off the bat. Maybe a touch of like burnt toast. So maybe more of kind of like that. So maybe more of that barrel char note as well. A touch of citrus, if I'm honest. Maybe like a touch of orange. If you've ever tried, if some of you folks are familiar with a chocolate called Terry's Chocolate Orange, and it comes in this round round chocolate sphere. And kind of you have to break it, and it comes splits into like bits, pieces of like orange, and it's basically just orange infused chocolate. It kind of has a lot of that going on with this glass. And then you definitely do get some like candied brown sugar in there as well. Man, I'm loving this blind so far. Let's go in for a taste on this. This is glass 3. So this is a little bit more different. Got a lot of sweetness on the nose, maybe not so much on the palate and the initial taste. Maybe getting a little bit of touch of like bubble gum there, but I'm also getting like much more wood with this one as well. It's more of a dry wood experience here. So maybe like a walnut, I think, is a good representation of that. But then, like I've said, I'm getting like a nice, soft, gentle, subtle bubblegum note in there as well, which is really pleasing. Maybe it could be banana, which could, if it's Old Forester 1910, that is a note that some people pick up from Old Forester. So possibly, you know, that might be it. I don't want to guess at this point or any one of these, but that would make a little bit of sense. However, I do like the dry finish here. It is quite a pleasant experience compared to maybe some of the other ones so far, which have more been more sweetness there. Just going for one more taste here. Get a nice little bit of vanilla punch there as well. It's kind of more of like a birthday crate with vanilla frosting. So really nice so far with that excellent glass 3 was. Let's move into our last and final glass, which is glass 4. That's what I'm getting now is bubblegum now that I've said that. Let's see if we can try to clear that out a little bit here. Okay, that's helped a little bit. So maybe sometimes you have bubblegum, it's almost like reminiscent of cherry. It's more so maybe getting some of that there as well. Beautiful brown sugar, beautiful burnt brown sugar with this one. If you've ever tried to make caramel on your own when you got it on the hob or got it on the stove, and you're mixing it, the sugar up, and it's giving off those kind of like burnt sugar fumes. It's kind of like that here as well. Maybe like a touch of candy floss coming through. Really great nose, really, really great nose. Let's go in for a taste. So with this one, I'm getting a lot more of a cinnamon spice up front. Like straight away, you get like a cinnamon spice that kind of attacks the tongue a little bit. So you can definitely feel it right there on the palate. Kind of like a big, heading off in kind of like a big red hot candy direction, but not too much and overpowering. It doesn't linger around for too much longer. Again, that burnt caramel sugar is there right the way through, but much like one of these other ones, it does tend to dry out there, and it makes for a really nice balanced finish there as well, because you've gone from like the sweet candied burnt sugar notes, touch of that kind of like cherry note there as well, bubblegum cherry note, and then that transitions more into like kind of like the wood aspect of it, which is what I really liked about toasted bourbons. You do get like these really nice like Rice Krispie marshmallow notes and barrel char from a lot of them. You get some really nice fantastic burnt sugar, maple syrup, caramel a lot of the time from them, but then as that goes away, like the burnt kind of barrel char dryness kind of takes over a little bit there and sends you another way on a different experience. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pause the video, I'm going to go through these a few times, and then we'll come back and get them in an order. Okay folks, and welcome back. So after much deliberation, as usual, we now have them in an order. So this was a pretty difficult blind to go through. Like you are definitely going to pick up some of the same notes there, but like I said at the beginning, I was definitely taken back with how different some of these were, and that kind of is a testimony to how their different practices and how they go about achieving a double oaked or a toasted product. So let's just delve straight into the results here, folks. I have the cheat sheet in my pocket, so we're going to go with Glass number 2 is what I chose for last place. So let's take a little look, and that is going to be letter B for Bravo, and that is Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel. Maybe a little bit of a shock for some folks out there. I do like Elijah Craig quite a lot, but I just felt like this one fell a little bit short of the others. None of these were bad whatsoever. I thoroughly enjoyed each and every one, but just for whatever reason, I got a little bit more grain and a little bit maybe of like corn and like fermented grain kind of taste from this. And if any whiskey I ever taste, I have like too much of a grain note, it kind of puts me off it quite a lot. However, it wasn't terrible, it wasn't bad at all. It just couldn't stack up to the rest of these 3. So next up was going to be glass number 4, which was D for dog or Delta, and that is going to be Woodford Reserved Double Oaked. Again, you know, when we get to this kind of standard, when we have Woodford Reserve, Elijah Craig, Michters and whatnot, then, you know, it's going to take some beating. I think this is a great product, and one, you know, double oak you can find pretty readily available in a lot of different places. Number 2 then was glass number 1, which is coming in. This is going to be A for Alpha, and that is going to be Michter's Toasted Barrel. So this is the first time I've ever tried Michters. So, you know, I had nothing to really gauge it off of. When I say the first time I've ever tried Michters, it's the first time I've ever tried Michter's Toasted Barrel. To be honest, 2 and 3 were really close together. Number 1 was a lot easier to decide, but 2 and 3, I wouldn't say interchangeably. I would say Michter's was originally was the better whiskey in my personal opinion, but it was very tight. Which leaves our last one and number 1 on this list. And just to make sure we did this right, that's going to be C, and that's going to be exactly that. Old Forester 1910, taking the win here, folks. For this has just had a really nice sweetness. It had a touch of like that bubblegum, and I actually think I said that I picked up some like bubblegum banana note, and it was coming from Old Foreman. And like I said, some people do normally get that note, but I wasn't trying to guess these too much. I wasn't trying to guess these. I wasn't trying to base my final thoughts on the blind based upon what I thought it was. I tried to exclude that out of my head as much as I could. I felt like this was by far away the best. It had a lot more of those like brown sugar notes, like sweetness, and it had a really nice balance then with kind of like some of the spice and some of the dry oak notes and kind of like dry pecan or walnut. I can't remember which I said, but I think it was excellently balanced. So I hope you enjoyed this blind, folks. 1910 coming in at number 1, Michter's Toasted Barrel coming in at number 2, Old Forester, Woodford Reserve coming in at number 3, and Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel coming in at number 4. What do we take away from this blind? Well, 1910 sits on shelves everywhere, so you don't need super high allocated whiskey to be able to enjoy the best toasted barrel finish, which in my opinion was the Old Forester 1910. So, as we always say on this channel, I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button as well. And as we drink through the world's whiskies 1 glass at a time, cheers.